Hi, it's Dreyer and welcome to the Financial Freedom Challenge, where our mission is to help you to create, to grow, to protect and to enjoy a life of absolute and total abundance. In other words, a life of freedom. And today I'd like to talk to you about the E in the ruler's principle. Now the E simply stands for an event, right? And I think what we need to do is to make a differentiation between opportunity seeker and a wealth creator, because there's a massive difference in terms of the interpretation of this ruler's principle, the acronym rulers, especially when it comes to the event part, the E in the ruler's principle. And as an opportunity seeker, I see that people are waiting for an event to happen. For example, if you invest in the stock market, then you need to make sure that something is going to happen. First of all, you need to understand the fundamentals. You need to know how to evaluate a share or a stock in a business or a business. If you are going to do it the way that Warren Buffett is doing it, then you need to understand the fundamentals. In other words, what you want to do is to understand what is the margin of safety. So in essence, what Warren Buffett does, he's going to say, okay, I want at least, let's say, a benchmark of a 20% growth on my investment, just to give you an example. And then he's going to evaluate the business, and if it's a good business and it gives him a 20% discount on the value of the stock, then he's going to buy, because immediately he's got a 20% just to get to the intrinsic value of that business. He's got a 20% safety margin, and that is basically how he invests. Now, in property, the same thing to a certain extent is true. The only thing is that the majority of people do not know how to determine the intrinsic value of a property. But for the opportunity seeker, what they're doing, they're working on the market value of the property. And then there's certain things that happens. You get international events. As an example, in 2008, the property bubble in America, when that burst, it had a ripple effect, and here in South Africa we felt it as well. And because of that, there's a drop in price. So that's an international event that happened. But in South Africa, we've got other events as well. For example, at the moment that the interest rate goes up, say from currently, I'm not sure where it is, I think we're close to 10%, the prime rate. But say, for example, it goes up to 20%. That's going to be an event, and that simply means that the property prices are going to drop. Now, I've seen this event 2 or 3 times in my life. The first time was in 1984. In 87, more or less, definitely in 2000, and then in 2008. But the 2008 wasn't because of an interest rate hike here in South Africa, but because of the global situation. But then there's also legislation. Legislation can also tick an event. For example, the New Credit Act here in South Africa, that was a protection in terms of what happened in 2008 globally. So they enforced this new act, and because of that, there's a lot of, let's call it, opportunities that were taken out of the market, because the banks simply clamp down and say, sorry, you're not going to qualify for this based on your financial criteria. And a lot of people bought properties, but to buy a property and to get a bond on that property is two different things. And because of that, we saw a definite tapering down, and in actual fact from 2008 a severe fall in terms of the value. Now, why do I say, and why did I say when we started, we have to be on the lookout between an opportunity seeker and a wealth creator? Because an opportunity seeker at this stage, these things are really important to them, simply because they work on one factor and one criteria only, and that is the capital appreciation and depreciation of that property or of that business up to that point. So in property, there's something else that can trigger events, and that can be divorces, or it can be if a person is retrenched or relocate, or financial difficulties, or death, or if they've got tenant problems, or if they're downsizing, or if they are upsizing. So all of these causes almost like mini events. And if you're a opportunity seeker or a wealth creator, of course you can capitalize on this. Now the tip that I'd like to give you, especially in property, is that always buy from a motivated seller. So the majority of people, what they do is they see an event, but they do not understand the underlying value of this that they're going to buy, or if this is really a great and a good investment, yes or no. And the reason for that is simply because they don't know their financial freedom growth rate. Plus, they don't know how to calculate the growth on that property. It's that simple. Okay? So the tip that if you're an opportunity seeker is make sure that you buy from a motivated seller, because you can waste your time by looking at millions of properties, but if that person is not a motivated seller, you're not going to find the right, let's call it bargain, because these people are referring to it as bargain. But there's a better way to do it, and that is to buy from an uninformed seller. So if I've got a program and I know that this property is going to give me, let's say my financial freedom growth rate is 70%, and this property is going to give me 75%, right? It simply means that the person that is selling it actually has got an asset that has got 75% growth in it or more, right? But he or she does not know it simply because they're uninformed. They do not know how to calculate the growth on that. And this is where a system like the Property Pro investment system can give even an opportunity seeker a massive advantage over another opportunity seeker. Right. Now, why is it so important then to become a wealth creator? Well, a wealth creator simply means that you're going to invest in yourself. In other words, you're going to invest in your own education. And this is why it's important, because suddenly we can create our own events. In other words, I do not rely on one factor, in other words, on the capital to go up and down. Because there's 27 variables to a property or 27 risks, I know that by managing or mitigating the risk down, the growth will go up. And because we've got systems, we can immediately see and we can literally start to manipulate where a transaction under normal circumstances, 99% of the time, would not be a great transaction, even if we look at the different triggers, the things that trigger the event. You know, we can literally create the event in any market condition. So we do not have to wait for a person like 2008, where there's a global or a meltdown, or because of the new Credit Act that came into, or where a person needs to get divorced in order for us to perceive, to find a bargain. We can literally create that simply because we understand and simply because we've got a system. But then there's the best investment that I think you can make is to become a wealth creator. In other words, to invest in yourself, to learn the competencies and to use the right strategies in order to create the event. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that we can create events out of thin air. Let me give you an example, and I'm sharing that with people in the seminars, free seminars that I'm presenting. The moment that you've got the knowledge about properties and about legislation and about how to use legislation regarding properties, as an example, if you're an uninformed person, on one specific example that I'm using, it simply means that you'll have a negative cash flow, say of 13,000, just over 13,000 Rand, for a 49% growth on your investment. In other words, your 13,000 Rand is not a bad investment. It sounds great, and you're going to get 49% off the tax, and it's a great investment for average people. But if your, say for example, your financial freedom growth rate is 80%, then suddenly this property that seems to be a great property is never going to help you to become financially free. It's just impossible. But it's a lot better than other investments, on condition that you know how to offset that risk. Because the 13,000 is not the only risk that there is, because now we know that events can trigger it so that the 13,000 can turn into a nightmare of, say, 30,000 Rand, simply because of an interest rate hike Okay, if this is a negative gearing. Now, by simply understanding and by simply being informed, right, you can turn the 13,000, instead of paying 13,000, you can structure it so that it's only going to cost you 2,600 Rand. And that 2,600 Rand is going to grow at 114%. So if you've got 3,000 and you've calculated that your financial freedom growth rate is 80%, as an example, suddenly the first one, same property, same area, same tenants, everything the same, but simply because you do not know the facts and what you can and what you can't do in terms of legislation, you're going to find that on the first, that property is out of your reach. That property is never going to help you to become rich. By simply having the knowledge, by simply being informed, in other words, not uninformed, you're going to change that into a cash flow position where it falls within the 3,000 Rand that you've got available, because it's 2,600 Rand that is going to cost you, and it's going to give you that you want. And that is why I want you to become a wealth creator. Now, here's the trick. If you're a wealth creator and you follow the wealth creator strategy, even the 13,000 Rand you can get for free, or the 2,000. So the way that I structure things is, I'd rather go for 2,600 negative, that I can get for free, by the way, than negative 13,000 Rand that I can get for free. Because to get 2,600 for free is a lot less effort than to get 13,000 for free. And if you're a wealth creator, you'll understand exactly what it is that I'm referring to and why I refer to this. But I'd rather have the 2,600 free than 13,000 free, because the 2,600 can give me 114% growth and the 13,000 can give me only a 49% growth in this specific scenario. Okay, so really you want to become a wealth creator simply because by following the wealth creator strategy, you mitigate the risk, you get all of the stuff in any case for free, plus you get incredible growths on those properties. Let me give you another example how we create the event. You know, when Tanya said to me with this 2 cent, the moment that she said to me, I said to her, I found this treasure. I did not know at that stage that it was 2 cents. And Tanya immediately said, I see it's your next million. In that moment, the event was created, because in that moment, I basically took up that challenge. Okay, so my intent is to turn this into a lot of money, into a treasure. And because of that, I thought initially that I'm going to wait for my next 91-day cycle and then bring it in as the next challenge. But I got so carried away that I immediately started. And on Friday, 12 o'clock, more or less 12 o'clock, I looked at the value that's in the bank at that stage. There was something like 47,000, which represents a 235 million% growth already on an idea, an event, because you know, that was the intent, is to turn this into a couple of millions, at least get a 1 billion% growth. And that is the ability to be able to create at will, and this is a wealth creator. So what's your challenge for today? Create an event where your investment growth rate is going to be higher than your financial freedom growth rate. In my case, for this, the event that I'm creating, I'm busy creating the event to turn this 2 cents and get at least a 1 billion% growth on it. And which means that my financial freedom growth rate equals 1 billion%. But I know that the events that I'm creating, and it's not going to be one event, it's going to be a series of events, because that is the way that I'm going to get the 2 cents at least into a 1 billion% growth. So in closing, always remember that in order to create financial freedom, you must make sure that today is going to be a perfect day. This is early in the morning, it's Sunday. And I've already done that I was supposed to do at this stage. So that simply means that we have to make sure that we do on a day-to-day basis that needs to be done. And it means that there's never going to be a day in your life that's not going to require you to take the responsibility to know what it is that you want. In other words, what do you want, and then to create the event in order, or events in order to get that you want, and then to put in the time and the efforts and create the right mindset, so that the event that you create will have a meaning and help you to get towards your goal. And in order to do that, I know that you know there's only one thing that you should do, and that is to create and to take massive action. Because the only way that you're going to get that you want is to take action on a consistent basis. So consistently doing that needs to be done is going to give you that result that you want. Okay, so every single action that you're going to take today is either going to move you one step closer or one step away from financial freedom. And therefore, if you really and truly want to guarantee yourself financial freedom, I challenge you today to create the event or events or a event right now, today, where your IGR is going to be bigger than your FFGR. And then put in the time, the effort, the mindsets, and learn the skill sets and the currencies that you need to learn in order to make that a reality. In other words, by taking massive action. So, as always, if you've got any questions, comments or suggestions regarding financial freedom, please post them in the comment box below, and I'll help if I can. And also remember to subscribe to my blog, that is blog.hannesdreyer.com, if you're not already on that, for more tips and strategies on financial freedom. And then, of course, here's feedback regarding my heart rate challenge. I've done what I've supposed to do. And by the way, you can have a look today. When I started, I had another intent, and that was to get my heart rate to at least 200. Now, that simply means that the way that I'm thinking, and it's just to play games with myself, is that they say the maximum heart rate, to get to your maximum heart rate, you take your 220 minus your age. So in my case, my maximum heart rate is 160. At least once during this session, I'd like to get my heart rate over 160. But this morning I thought, okay, if I was 40 years today, it simply means that I had to get my heart rate to 200. And I thought, let's set that as the intent for that specific session. And we've done that. And that is why, you know, the intent, most people think it's only for something big. It's, of course, that's your power intent, you know. And for the power intent, we've got power symbols and a power morphing process and so forth. But because we understand this process so well, we can literally, for an event like one training session, I can set several intents for that one event. And I thought maybe that can help you as well. I've enjoyed making this video for you. I really enjoyed sharing information with people, especially my passion is to teach people how to become wealth creators, how to help them, how to mentor them, how to coach them, and therefore I'm enjoying this. And I will do this the whole day, if Tanya allows me to do it the whole day. And if I do not have to eat and stuff like that. So I really enjoy doing this and sharing this with other people, and I really and truly hope that it can help you, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Okay, so with that, I'll see you then tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm going to give you an update because I do believe that the growth is not 235 million %. I think that we are a lot higher than that already, simply because of a simple a comment that Tanya made the moment that I picked up this 2 cents, and she said to me, your next million. Well, I've got a surprise for you, because I'm working on a concept that I think can help you and benefit you tremendously. Right, see you then tomorrow.